Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, sir.
You may now take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
So today our lesson is about. But before that, let's start with a game. So the title of the game is sound check. So you need to guess a game. You need to guess a sound, and but first you need to write your IGN in that paper. IGN means in-game name. So we are inside in the game. We are not inside the classroom. We are inside the game, guys.
Yes, sir.
Class. Now, paunahan to ah. What is your in-game name, Mr.
Los Pepe, sir.
Los Pepes will get an XP. So every XP, you will get a level up. Then you will get... You're now level 2.
With a hand, sir.
And
Thank you,
XP.
sir.
So the next sound is Mr. Balitan.
Super Mario, sir.
Super Mario is correct.
Yes, I'm
XP.
level 2. Ano ba hindi kami level?
Mr. Balitan.
Metal Slug, sir.
Metal Slug. That's right.
Level 3.
Mr. Bastana.
League of Legends.
What is your IGN? Sorry.
Samiron, sir.
Sameron. Sameron Los Pepes and Maracol.
Flappy Bird.
That's right.
I almost got it.
Mr. Maracol, Mr. Sameron got the answer. With that game, this is the games that pinanggalingan ng mga sounds. So next, our topic for today is gamification of learning. So class, I will ask you, when you're in high school or elementary, the class gets boring when it's so traditional, right? Because we don't put down the traditional way, but the new generation needs the new concept of teaching. And we all know that children in today's era is already involved in so many games, computer games and other games like that. And with the help of that, in learning, we will. And then, this is so, Mr. Sameron, can you please read the
An educational approach to motivate students to learn by using video game design and game elements in learning environment.
Oh, that's right. You need to put the gaming environment into the learning environment. So you need to combine those environment to produce a more effective classroom. So next slide.
In the ever-changing world of education, there's a relatively new and exciting trend called gamification. Now that word in itself might generate some pictures in your mind that you're not a real big fan of when you think of video games. So let's take a minute in this video to talk about what is gamification. We'll start with the research of a gamification expert. In his book, The Gamification of Learning and Instruction, Carl Kapp, a professor of instructional technology from Bloomsburg University, defines gamification this way: the use of game-based mechanics, aesthetics, and game thinking to engage people, motivate action, promote learning, and solve problems. Well, now, if you're anything like me, Professor Kapp's definition of gamification, while very thorough and detailed and in-depth, may have failed in answering the question. It may, in fact, have actually generated more questions for you. If that's the case, it might help in this video if we slow things down a little bit and simplify the whole concept of gamification. When we gamify a classroom, we use all the bits and pieces of video games that make them so fun, engaging, interactive, and just plain awesome. to create a learning environment that is fun, engaging, interactive, and just plain awesome. Is that a little simpler? Okay, well, let's move on to another question that would come up when we're talking about gamification. How does it work? Some teachers use a few smaller experiences or online tools to gamify portions of the learning experience for students. A teacher might use Class Dojo, for example, in order to manage the classroom, or tools like Kahoot and quizzes for formative assessments. Nearpod might be used for some truly interactive learning. Other teachers create entire worlds for students to explore. They can experience and interact with the learning throughout their journey, plunging themselves as deep into the world as they choose. Sounds pretty intense, doesn't it? Well, and it can be. And just like in the video games that they play every day, that intense gamified classroom situation can draw students in and challenge them in whole new ways. And speaking of whole new ways, gamification asks all of us, students, parents, teachers, administrators, to think about learning itself in a whole new way. Have you ever played Pac-Man or Super Mario Brothers? Think about those beginning of those games for a minute. How many points do you start with? 10 points? Maybe 1,000 points? Do you start with 1,000,000 points? No, of course not. Those games, like most, start with 0 points. And that makes sense, because you haven't done anything yet to earn points. So let's apply that same concept to the classroom. Everyone in a gamified room starts with 0 points, and they earn experience points, or XP, through various assignments and projects. There are many, many important parallels that can be drawn between video games and education. These parallels make the classroom a perfect place for gamification. Skills like problem solving, creativity, collaboration, extrinsic motivation, critical thinking, and communication can all be found in both video games and the classroom. Okay, we do have time for just one last question about gamification. Where do we start? There are lots of places to go, but it's a great idea to start where your 21st century learners start. The internet. Doing a search of gamification education on Google or on YouTube will supply you with many resources for gamifying your own classroom. There are also lots of great books to check out. We already heard about Carl Kapp's book, The Gamification of Instruction and Learning. But check out Brian Burke's book, Gamify, to learn a little bit more about the motivation behind the gamification. Hopefully, all this makes a little more sense now. Gamification is an exciting tool. It's a new way of thinking, and it's a great adventure. But gamification is not an excuse to play video games all day. Students are engaged in their learning, they are excited about their learning, and they love it. Happy gaming!
What's the benefit of gamification in learning? So, Mr. Miracolo, can you read the benefits of learning?
Benefits of gamification in learning. Better learning experience, better learning environment, instant feedback, prompting behavioral change can be applied for most learning needs.
It's your XP. So every time you will participate in our class, you will get an XP, and those XP will be added into your... Because I will post a leaderboard, and the first one, and I will post that on our Facebook page. So better learning experience. So just like what I'm saying in the first of our class, the learner will learn more. The teacher will be more effective in today's generation when he can gain the attention of the learner, and by using the game, just like what we do in the first part of our class today. Better learning environment. So the environment the students will. So I will ask you, Mr. Los Pepes, when the class have a game, what can you feel?
It involves the attention of the students to the
Right.
participation to the discussions.
And it's produce a better learning
Learning.
environment. So this is your XP. And lastly, it can be applied for most learning needs. So Mr. Miraculo, what is your insight in that statement?
Many games are now, there is so many educational games for now, so I think it is more effective to 21st century students to learn through games.
That's right. This is your XP, Mr. Miraculo. So you can apply most games in every subject, right? In science, in math, in English, you can apply games in that subject and all of the subject in the curriculum. So next is how to ensure success of gamification in learning. So this is the most important part of the lesson because, okay, given that you prepared the game and you prepared your lesson and then you will combine them, but how you will ensure as a teacher that your student have already having fun and in learning. So first one is captures learner attention. Did I capture your attention in the first part of our class?
Yes, sir.
And those games capture your attention, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can create your own game to motivate your student to create a springboard to the lesson, the lesson proper. How to ensure success of gamification in learning. So the first statement is captures learner's attention. So who wants to explain that statement? Mr. Baletano, Mr. Miraculo, and Mr. Los Pepes. Can you please go in front and play a game for the class?
Sure, sir.
Okay, sir. It's called Ouchie Bird. So the goal is you need to score 3 in that game. The one will win will have a 2 XP. Sir,
I don't know what the rule let's play. This
just need to dodge the winner.
okay.
Yeah, okay, I will
One
give
more?
you 3 try.
You need to dodge. Okay,
Yes, sir.
got it. There you go.
1.
There you go. Oh no, baby. Let's go.
Okay. Mr. Miraculo,
I got 2 more tries.
I got one.
Whoa. Okay, last one, bro. Last one.
Oh my god! I won.
Mr. Las Pepes won the game.
There you go.
That game is so hard.
So,
Freaking hard.
next. The next one is challenge them. So, Mr. Bastona, what is your insight in the statement?
Sir, the 21st century learners are collaborative and want to engage themselves in learning. You need to put challenges in every game that you want to provide to them for them to entertain and engage themselves.
Yes. Mr. Miraculo and Mr. Los Pepes, did you want to challenge Mr. Bastona in one particular game right now? Mr. Balaton will be the first one to try. So the goal is you have to score at least 30. Oh, 11. You need to beat that, Mr. Ako ng mamay. O, Sameran. Yeah, GM, Sameran.
Pushing.
We have a winner.
Dinner.
At least 30, sir? Yes. Mr. Sameran. And that's it. This is your 2 XP. Thank you for participating. And so that's it. That is the gamification of learning class. You can create your own for the future if you want to become a teacher to engage your student in your topic. So your assignment for tomorrow is bring your laptop or smartphone for the activity. Bye. And
Sir.
can you please stand up? Bye, class.
Bye, sir.